Building software is a collaborative process at its heart, and not just between engineers and designers, engineers and product owners, and between all the other teams which are part of your organization. Because of this, it becomes essential that you're able to provide your team with the right tools which help them collaborate effectively. And that is getting increasingly tough in this modern microservices world we are living in. And it is also more important for this particular architecture and type of applications we are developing these days, because our apps these days consist of various stacks of technologies and frameworks, and no one person can be expected to be an expert in them. So it becomes more and more important being able to iterate fast, and you can only iterate fast if you're able to get feedback faster from other people. The traditional process for sharing your changes with someone involves you pushing your code to a repository, then them pulling them and building the application to see your changes. But it is very cumbersome and time taking. It makes sense to do this for when you have completed a feature or done a bug fix. But what about those moments when you instantly need a feedback? What solution do you have? Do you take makeshift screenshots and send them to designers and ask feedback? All of these hacky ways aren't really the best experience for developers or other team owners. The other big problem with this process of pushing and committing and pulling your code to see changes is that it leaves out people who do not know how to work with Git or other version control systems. To solve all of these problems, I'm going to show you one of my favorite features about Okteto, which is endpoints. When you deploy an application on Okteto for development, it deploys all the services part of your application and gives you endpoints where you can see a live version of that service deployed just for development. So if we go to our movies endpoint, we'll see that our application has been deployed, and this first endpoint is for the front end, and this is a completely working version of our application which is there. Now when a developer wants to work on this, all they need to do is go to their code editor and run Okteto up. This will list all the microservices part of the application, and they can choose which one they want to work on. In this case, let's assume I'm a front-end engineer, so I choose the front-end microservice, and that will connect a development container to that service and allow me to sync the code between my local machine and the code I see at that endpoint. Now, this endpoint is accessible to anyone on your team. You can send it to your fellow engineers, you can send it to the backend team if you're trying out a new API, you can send it to the designers if you want to get feedback on your changes. And it is as easy as just copy pasting this link and sending it on Slack or whatever internal communication system you use. Once Okteto up is done, we get a terminal inside the dev container which is synchronizing our code. And this is just like if you were working locally, so you run npm start to start the front end React service again. And when I go back and hit refresh, I should see that my service is now in development mode. So for our movies app, let's assume there is a conference called KubeCon coming, and we are asked to add a discount to all the users. And as a front-end engineer, I've been tasked with adding a banner to this app telling about the discount. So I cheated and I have the code here already, but I'll uncomment this and hit save. And when I go back, I see that my change is already here. Now, I don't know about design, and I want to get some designer's feedback. Traditionally, I would have to, commit my changes, push them to Git, and if you're using Okteto's preview environments, they can help and give you a preview URL on that pull request. But still, that process takes time, and it makes sense when the entire feature is done, right? Maybe I have to add more changes or something. So what do I do to get immediate feedback? I can simply share this URL with someone on my team. I can send them this URL, and when they visit this URL, they can see my app live. Now, if you have even the slightest eye for design, you can tell that this is a bit too wide, the logo is too big. So that's the feedback I get, and I go back and I change the logo size to, let's say 20. I hit save, React detects my changes, and it scales down the size. Now, again, this URL you send to someone and they can see this and they give me the thumbs up, so I can continue working on the app. Isn't that cool? Now, this was a very simple change, but imagine how much easier this way of collaborating with your teammates can make your software development process if implemented correctly. And all of this is very easy to implement because it requires no additional configuration from your side. All you need to do is have Okteto installed on your Kubernetes cluster and configure the Okteto manifest for your application, and then Okteto automatically takes care of creating these endpoints, which are specific to not only the app you have deployed but to the namespace you have deployed as well. So if you see, the URL is composed of my app name and then the name of the namespace. So I could easily create a new namespace, deploy another app, and have the endpoints for that app. I think you can now start to see how much easier Okteto makes collaborating and building modern cloud-native applications together. If you would like to try out this workflow yourself, check out our product on okteto.com and you can sign up for a free trial. If you would like to take a product tour about this feature, I have linked this blog where I cover this feature in detail, what benefit it has, and how it compares with our preview environments, which is a similar feature but has a different use case. So you'll find the link for that blog in this video, as well as the link to the free Okteto trial page. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video useful.